Bear down, Bears fans. Feeling a little bit better after a Bears win, but it's probably fool's gold. Question on the table today. A tough one. We're at a conflicting point. Would you rather see the Chicago Bears win out or lose for draft positioning? Let's talk about it right after this. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page because we do talk Chicago sports weekly and we don't want you to miss a thing. So make sure that you hit that bell. Like I said, some tough questions have to be answered today. Some tough questions have to be asked today. Would the Chicago Bears benefit more from winning out or losing out? Is essentially what it comes down to. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to see your team win or lose at its basis form? And yesterday, me and Mr. 16 Dante Roll, shout out to you for joining the show, bro. Kind of went down and broke down our scenarios. And you look at both sides, right? I look at the side where they went out. You went out, you beat the Vikings, you probably make the playoffs, right? What does that do for you? Now, you think about it at its best case scenario. If you win out, that means you've won 4 games in a row going into the playoffs. You got a little bit of confidence. You beat both the Vikings and the Packers. And maybe some confidence carries over. Maybe if you continue to have offensive output like you've had, honestly, these last 3 games. In the last 3 games, we've seen the Bears score 25, 30, and 33 now. Still a ton of missed opportunities on the table, but we've seen them put up points. And so if you can keep up the offensive output, if you can keep up what the offense is doing and take that into a playoff scenario, now you got a chip in the chair. Now you're going in with your team feeling at its best. You might be able to get a win or 2. Do I think that you can go all the way to the Super Bowl? Now, you would need a New York Giants, Baltimore Ravens kind of scenario in that situation where literally you catch a heater and all of a sudden you find yourself in the Super Bowl. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying that it's not a likely scenario. And so to me, you're probably looking at a team that's entertaining at the end of the year. You're probably looking at a team that is in the playoffs. And I would say probably if they made the playoffs, are competitive. But here's your problem. You don't see the change that comes if you win out. I think you might see change possibly in certain parts, but I think that we all agree that it's probably time. Barring some crazy run, maybe Matt Nagy figures it out, barring some crazy run, that it's probably time to clean house on all fronts. And you don't see that change coming if the Chicago Bears continue to win, if the Bears win out, and let's be honest, if they win out versus beatable teams, bad teams in this NFL. I mean, other than that Green Bay Packers game late, you're facing the Vikings who, yeah, the Vikings are a better team than us right now, but they're still a bad team. The only real competition that I see at the end of this schedule, legitimately, is a team that's probably not going to play their players in the final game in the Green Bay Packers. They're probably not going to play Aaron Rodgers. You're probably not going to see the best talent on the field in that game week 17 because they've already clinched their playoff spot. So to me, you beat the Vikings. That's still a bad football team, but okay, you beat the Vikings. Then you beat the Jaguars. All right, that's an even worse football team, but okay, you beat the Jaguars. Now you got the Packers left. So in a scenario like that, I could see George McCaskey looking at it and saying, okay, well, yes, they went through the 6-game losing streak, but then they finished it off by getting it together. They won games based on what the Arizona Cardinals end up doing. They might make the playoffs. They've made the playoffs. I can't fire these guys under those kind of scenarios. I can't fire these guys because they overcame adversity. That's really the pros and cons of it. Now, could I see a scenario where he looks at it and he says, well, Matt Nagy got his team together. Ryan Pace, you still have failed to address the serious issues that this team really needs addressed. And so I'm going to let you go, Ted. Ted, you're either retiring, but you got to get your stuff together. And then you bring in the next guy and you allow him to make a decision on Matt Nagy. I could see that scenario playing out as well. I think the thing is, we're thinking clean house. We're thinking this thing has to be stripped down to the boards. And do you get that scenario if the Chicago Bears win out? Now, before I continue with the video, I want to know your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Do you want the Chicago Bears to win out or lose games for the draft positioning? I'll be down there talking in the comments with you as well. According to where the Bears are right now, they'd probably be in that top 15, literally pick number 15 draft range. You know what I'm saying? If they do win out, you drop down to probably 18 or 19. So you're really not dropping a lot, depending on if they lose in the first round as well, depending on how far they go in the playoffs. But you're really changing your draft capital minimally as long as they don't make a run in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? But in the lose out scenario, more than likely, everyone ends up getting fired because you got one win in 10 weeks of football after starting 5-1. More than likely, that's the scenario where everyone gets fired. You might end up moving up in the draft a little bit, but there's not going to be a ton of change here. There's not going to be a ton of change here from this position because the Bears are a 6-win team. So you're not going to see the Bears go from the 15th pick in the draft all the way up to the 5th. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to see that. There's too much bad football in this NFL right now for us to see that scenario play out. And so what does it change? You know what I'm saying? What does it change? You see the change in the front office. If losing out is worth the change in the front office, which where we are now, where we are here today, yes, we got a win yesterday. Yes, it looked good. Yes, this week people are going to come in kumbaya, bear down, and that's good. Feel good about the W. Feel good about the win because we didn't see a lot of those this year. Feel good about the win, but understand what's really happening. Understand what we're really seeing. If the Bears do lose out, you see change in your front office. You see change on your sideline. And listen, it sounds like that change could go all the way up to the president, which would be the first time that Ted Phillips has been removed from that position since 2002, 2001. He's been in the organization since 84, but I think he was made president around like 01, 02. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's mind-blowing that you would see change all the way up if the Bears were to lose out. At least as we're speculating, you would think you would see change all the way up, because I really do believe that George McCaskey wants to win. I just think he doesn't know how to do it. But I think we can see that he's made changes. He's come out. He's been vocal about it that he wants to win. He wants to be the one to turn this franchise around. He's just got to put the right people in place to do it. And so I think if you lose out, one, mom's always pissed because the Bears, you know what I'm saying? So I think that is the scenario where you see legitimate change, not only just on your sideline, but in your organization. That can be one where you see a culture change like we've recently seen with the Chicago Bulls, because I think if you went through a season of that, you would start to see some of that apathy set in where fans just no longer care that the Bears are on Sundays. I mean, I have friends already who are just like, I'm not letting the Bears ruin my Sunday no more. Like, why would I sit down for 3 hours and watch this team? And the biggest thing with losing out is that change has to come, because no matter what you get with that pick, no matter where your draft capital ends up, you cannot allow Ryan Pace to have another first-round draft pick, especially a top 10, top 15 draft pick that you can actually do something with. You know what I'm saying? But now that we've seen both sides of the fence, I mean, in all honesty, I can't sit on my couch every Sunday and watch the Bears and root for them to lose. I don't have it in me. I can't root for my team to lose. I understand that draft capital means something. I understand that them losing out puts us in a better position as a franchise moving forward. I just can't root for my team to lose. This is just me. But if I were to give you what's the best case scenario, it probably is for them to lose out. It probably is for them to lose out, because I think you're left with more questions if you win all the games. I think you're left with the question of, okay, has Matt Nagy turned this thing around, or was this just good football against bad football teams? Which you have to take some solace in the fact that we're beating these teams the way we were beating them, because in the beginning of the season, we weren't. Those were horrible football teams at the beginning of the season, and we were squeaking out wins. We were struggling to get wins. You know what I'm saying? And so the fact that we're coming out and we're putting up 30 points on teams like that, now granted, we only won yesterday, but the fact that we came out and we held Deshaun Watson as a defense to under 200 yards, Deshaun had been coming out and putting up numbers, you know what I'm saying? So there's good you can get from that Houston game yesterday. It's just a matter of, is that something that you want to continue versus other arguably bad teams in the league, or are you ready for all this to be over? I mean, I understand, like I said, I understand the best case scenario for the Bears is to lose out. And I think that that's probably the scenario that I would lean towards. It's not one I'm going to root for, though. That's just me. I'm weird. That's just me. But I want to know your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Would you rather see the Chicago Bears win out and try and make a playoff run, or lose and I hope that significant change comes to the organization? Let me know in the comments below. I will be down there talking with each and every one of you. It is your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again to continue watching our Chicago Bears content. Click the links here, check the links in the description below. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.